Okay, so here is your jumpers one from Friday. We'll watch it in regular time and then we'll slow it down and watch it again, and I'll make most of my comments during that time. That looks pretty nice. I think you had a pretty good weekend if I remember right. That was funny. Wow, that was pretty nice. It's good. Okay, so let's slow it down. Let's back up. I don't have any problem with any of how this was handled. It all looks really nice. The dog clearly knew where to go. You do a good job here picking her up and shooting her out there. She shot pretty far out there, but that's because, so you're already starting to pull away here. And it was the stride just before she lifted off. As far as I can tell, it's kind of hard to see. So she probably needed the information just a tad sooner, because now you're really, well, we can't see because Polly, but you can tell that you're really pulling away here, but now your dog is in the air. So she got the information that you were going this way a little too late. So that, caused her to take this jump more like this instead of being prepared for a turn. And once she's in the air, she can't really do anything about where she's going to land. So she just landed pretty straight, this way instead of, trying to make a little bit nicer turn there. So she just got that information a little bit late. Now on this part, you're pretty far ahead of her. And you probably didn't plan on being that far ahead of her, but it's always good if you can try to train yourself. So I saw you did a rear cross in the flat over here before the weaves. But I remember when I ran this course, or when I walked this course, this part to the weaves, there were a couple of different options for what to do. And it would be good if you could sort of train yourself to say, well, if I'm ahead of her here, then I'll do a front cross here, and if I'm not, then I'll do a rear cross, because it gives you more options. And here you're so far ahead of her that you could have easily done a front cross right in here, which would have made it a little bit better to get to the weaves. There's nothing wrong with your handling strategy, but because you were so far ahead, you could have easily just changed sides right in here where you are now, and gotten that side change out of the way. You did a rear cross on the flat here, which it worked okay. And then I don't know if she only weaves when she's on the left, if that's why you did this, but you got to refusal out of it. So if she can only weave on the left, then what you should have done is, if you were going to do this rear cross in the flat, you should have just done, you should have just spun around basically right there and kept her on your left and then gone to the poles, and then you wouldn't have gotten a refusal. Because you did like a rear cross on the flat right here, and then you had to do another front cross. If that makes any sense. Then you do another rear cross on the flat. So you get this here, and you can I don't know, maybe you can even see it, but if you're going to do a rear right here between these two, then you really need to suck in close to these jumps instead of having how your path kind of goes like this, because it allows, the path you have here, it allows you to get too far ahead of your dog than to try to do a rear cross. And so You just ran out of space between these jumps and you needed her to go ahead, but you were decelerating and slowing down, and because she wasn't very far ahead of you, and so that caused her to question what you were doing. But if you make your path longer, basically, and come in tight to these jumps, then it allows the dog to go ahead of you. Because you're already ahead of her, and now you're asking her, but if you watch it in real time, you probably decelerated there too. And this cross was tricky here because rear crosses like this are tricky because the handler path is kind of naturally already pushing this line this way, and so it's tricky to get the dog to go straight to this jump. But some people did the rear cross on the flat or the rear cross on the landing side over here, and it worked for some people, but I don't like it with your dog because she has a bigger stride and she's faster. And I also don't really like this location for this rear cross on the flat over here. There's certain times when those work great, and this wasn't really one of those times, unless you have a really slow dog or a really short strided dog. So I would have had you cross between these two jumps here. And kind of like what I said before, if you had tucked yourself in here into this little pocket, then you could have gotten straightened out enough to send her to this yellow one and cut behind her and then get over to do the cross. So instead what happens is, so she has to know that she's going this way before she lifts off for this yellow jump, right? Because once she lifts off, she can't do anything about where she's going to land or anything. And so here she is lifting off, and pretty much still everything about you is forward. Okay, you're not really giving her any clue, and you can even see by the way she's taking it, she's already angled herself that way a little bit over that jump. So she's looking at that winged jump out there. And now you throw up your outside arm and kind of start to move this way, but she's over the bar, and there's really nothing she can do about it. So I think across one jump back in this area would have been better. But it was a nice run. Nice job.